This is a video response to Sisyphus Redeemed's video, Free Will and Divine Foreknowledge. I like his videos, but here I think he just makes it too easy on himself, so I felt like I had to respond. Actually, this video is about time and the different notions of time, and how all of this relates to our understanding of the world. So basically, the argument put forward in Sisyphus Redeemed's video is that if God has divine foreknowledge, then there is no free will. Let's hear William Rowe's argument as presented by Sisyphus Redeemed.
So this is Rowe's version of the argument. Premise 1. God knows before we are born everything we will do. This is the doctrine of divine foreknowledge. Premise 2. If God knows before we are born everything we will do, then it is never in our power to do otherwise. Premise 3. If it is never in our power to do otherwise, then there is no human freedom. It's called as the doctrine of free will. Number 4, conclusion, therefore there is no human freedom.
Before diving into premise 1 and 2, I'd like to point out that premise 3, as presented, looks to me like a category mistake. Sisyphus Redeemed even says so himself in the comments. Free will and the power to do otherwise are not necessarily the same, depending on how you define those words and concepts. If you are interested in this subject, I suggest reading e.g. Daniel Dennett. But let's move on. Premise 2. If God knows before we are born everything we will do, then it is never in our power to do otherwise. Premise 2 basically says that God knows what you are having for breakfast tomorrow even before you make your choice. Therefore, Sisyphus Redeemed argues, you cannot decide to eat anything else, because then God would have been wrong in the past, and this cannot be. However, that leaves out the possibility mentioned in William Rowe's text, an argument that was put forward by William of Ockham, of Ockham's razor fame. You can not only change the future, but you can also change the past. Now I know, this sounds crazy, because no one has ever seen anyone changing the past, right? But the point is, if the past changes, you have nothing to compare it to, because there is no before if the past changes. Let us assume that you are born and at a point in time B, you decide to have pancakes for breakfast. According to premise 2, God already knew this before you were born at time C. Now imagine that at point B, you decide to have eggs for breakfast instead. At that instant, according to Ockham, not only do you change the future, but also change the past. Now God has always known that you were going to eat fried eggs. There is no, but before he knew that I was going to eat pancakes. You are changing the past. Quite a challenging idea. And not easy to refute. Let's move on to premise 1. God knows before we are born everything we will do. There are two arguments. One is that the future does not exist, and therefore there is nothing to know about it. You can make an educated guess, like, for example, the sun will rise tomorrow, but you cannot know the future with absolute certainty. If the future does not exist and thus cannot be known, then premise 1 can be dismissed out of hand, as it does not make any sense and is certainly not a basis for a valid argument. But there is another argument, and it is based on Albert Einstein's special theory of relativity. in particular the relativity of simultaneity. Imagine that God is some distance away from Earth, and at a given time A, you decide to have pancakes for breakfast. This is exactly the same time when God knows that you are having pancakes. This is not a problem of free will. After all, you decide and God knows at the same time how you decide. Now imagine Jesus flying by at close to the speed of light. According to special relativity, Jesus sees events A, choosing the pancake, and B, God knowing your choice, not as simultaneous events. Jesus' reference frame looks like this. Events A and B, according to this frame of reference, do no longer occur at the same time, but B, that is, God knowing that you choose pancakes, occurs before you choose the pancakes. Going back to your time frame, imagine the Holy Spirit flies by in the opposite direction, again close to the speed of light. From its point of view, you chose your pancakes before God knows that you are eating them. Combining this with Jesus flying by and the concept of the Holy Trinity, we can say God knows, has known and will know that you choose pancakes for breakfast without affecting the concept of free will. In true Conservapedia style and with a nod to D. Barrett Jones' Bible quiz, we have just shown that the Holy Trinity and divine foreknowledge is scientific foreknowledge of Einstein's special relativity. How about that? There is only one problem. God is awfully far away from us and moving in all directions. So, let's recap. What is left of this argument? Not premise 3, as it is a category mistake. Not premise 1, if the future does not exist. And not premise 2, either because we can change the past, or because of special relativity. In short, this argument fails on all levels. SisyphusRedeemed then argues that reformulating the argument saves the day. It just removes all traces of the future. This is the new argument. I don't know about you, but unless my English fails me, I cannot see how the new premise 2 can be true. Only because God looks over my shoulder and knows what I'm doing does not affect my ability to do otherwise. After all, this new premise 2 does not say he knows my actions before I make them, just that he knows them as I make them. So I think this is one of SisyphusRedeemed's weakest videos I've seen. I remain unconvinced of this argument, and I didn't even have to mention other less known notions of time grounded in 20th century physics. Thanks for your time.